So let's look at places where melanin is found in your body. I mean, we're gonna discuss a lot of things about melanin, and it will really be shocking and amazing for you to know that melanin in your body is far more than what you think or expect. Because there are just so many amazing things about melanin in your body, and it's very important for us to understand these things. Very, very important. Because many of us have seen our skin color as being a curse, even though, yeah, we might not say like directly, but then, because of this discrimination, because of these attitudes that we get from lots of other non-Africans, so it makes us feel like, oh, is it like a curse to be a black person or to have a black skin or something? But you're just gonna see your skin as being a blessing, like very, very important. We've got to capitalize on these as a people. So first, we're gonna talk about the parts of the body where melanin is found before we go to many other important things that we need to know about melanin. Very, very important thing I want to share with you on this. So let's talk about the location first. So melanin is found actually in many parts of your body, not just your skin. I mean, that's a common one that we know, but it's found in many parts of your body, and we're gonna talk about that. So, first of all, is your skin. Of course, the epidermis, that's the outer layer of your skin. So, melanin there is produced by the melanocytes, which actually determine your skin color, and it protects it against the ultraviolet damage. So, the ultraviolet ray coming from the sun, your melanin in your skin actually protect it and make sure that the UV doesn't penetrate your skin and then damage your skin cells and cause some cancer and all these like very terrible skin diseases, right? So we're still gonna like talk a lot about the functions of the melanin in the body generally, but I'm just like mentioning the location first. Second is your hair, like your hair. So melanin is found in your hair follicles. Yeah, it's found in those strands, and it determines your hair color. So while we have the black hair or brown, that's because of the melanin. It's also found in your eyes. The iris of your eyes actually gives you the color, gives you the brown color or black color that you have in your iris. Very important. So the melanin actually makes it have that color. Also, your retina, also in the eyes, your melanin also like serve very important function because it absorb the excess light and prevent scattering. So it's kind of serve that protective function there. Yeah. Also in the choroid layer of the eyes as well, there's also melanin. So it's very rich in melanin. The choroid layer. Uh, it's also like provides oxygen and nutrient to the retina over there in the choroid layer because it has a lot of blood vessels. In the brain, yeah, we have what we call the neuromelanin. So it's found in the two major locations in the brainstem. We have the substantia nigra and the locus ceruleus. I'm going to dive in deep into this area when we talk about the functions of melanin in your body. But for now, understand that it's found in your substantia nigra and locus ceruleus, which are two major parts in your brainstem. Yeah. So yeah, both produce neuromelanin, which we're gonna dive in deep and talk about a lot about what it does in the brain. In the nasal cavity, yeah, melanin is present in your nasal cavity. It's in the mucous membranes of your nose. It actually does filter and protect against some inhaled pathogens and pollutants. So it's gonna like serve that protective function as well. We're gonna dive in deeper into that much later. The protective function of melanin, it's actually serve a lot of that in the body. The mouth and the oral cavity, the same thing also in your gum, your gingiva, your inner cheeks, and your tongue. Yeah, as a black person, you have a very great content of melanin in your gums, your gingiva, in your inner cheeks. When you check your oral cavity, you see some maybe not so black spot, but then yeah, so melanin is present in those locations and it serves also very important protective functions. In your ear, your two ears, ear for hearing. Don't mind my pronunciation because yeah, my intonation can be different a little bit, but you need to understand that. Yeah. So in your ears, you have also the melanin serving very important functions there in your inner and your middle ear. Okay. Particularly what we call the stravascularis of your cochlea. All right. So that's like the vessel portion of your cochlea, like part that contains a lot of blood vessels. Yeah. In your cochlea, you have the cochlea and you have the vertebra, which regulate the balance and equilibrium. So so melanin is found in those locations, which actually do regulate and protect your ear against noise-induced damage. Very important. More reason why black people can actually be in a place where it's very noisy and they're still not disturbed with the noise, or it doesn't affect their hearing because of the protective function of the melanin. You can imagine that. I mean, we have this now, we don't even know that we have them, right? Because it's like, okay, it's normal, it looks natural, but then those things are melanin is serving very important functions in those locations in our body, right? Then your reproductive organs, yes. For a female, you have the vagina, the cervix, and the labia minora. They actually contain melanin. I mean, can you imagine that? Not just your skin, okay? Of course, the skin around your vulva has melanin for sure because, yeah, that's skin. But here we're even talking about the inner part, which is the vagina, the cervix, and the labia minora. Labia minora is not labia majora. Labia majora is like skin. It has skin, it has the ear follicles and all that. But labia minora is more like this mucous membrane, okay? Like the that portion where you have like not the skin parts, right? So those locations actually contain melanin. You can imagine that they are not skin and they contain melanin, yeah, just like any other part I've mentioned. So they are visible in dark skin women, very beautiful, women are blessed with that. The male, they also have melanin for sure. The scrotum and the penis, yeah, sure. I mean, most part of these are lined by the skin cells, yeah. But even when you get into the prepuce, I mean, for men, and you get in probably into like the orifice, yeah, you see melanin there as well. They contribute to pigmentation and protecting the sensitive tissues. That's right. Also, in your bones and the bone marrow, the melanin is also present there, serving very important functions like developing the bone tissues and marrow, plays minor roles also in the immune and cell differentiation processes, very important functions. Yeah, so also in the placenta and the fetal tissues, the melanin is found in the placenta and the umbilical cord. Also, when you get to see the fetal epidermis, yeah, melanin is very important in all this development, and it does protect uh, against ultraviolet rays, which can affect the fetus. So if you have a mother who has a baby growing in her womb, yeah, so the melanin with the fetus in the placenta and the fetal tissue actually protect the fetus against the ultraviolet radiation, and also it helps in early neural development. That's the development of the brain and the nervous system. Very important. Then also you have the teeth and the gums. That's like back to the oral cavity. So yeah, melanin serve very important functions in your teeth and your gums and in your oral mucosa, like I mentioned earlier. Very important. So when you look at your teeth, it has some very unique color, even though it looks white for black people, yeah. But when you look deep down around your teeth, you see melanin present, which serve that very protective and pigmentative functions. All right. Also, in your lungs, you have melanin there. I mean, can you imagine your lungs? You have melanin because in the bronchial epithelium, you have some traces of melanin there, which also have very important protective function and prevents the inhaled pollutants from damaging your lung cells. Very important. In your pineal gland, melanin actually produces melatonin. I mean, not like it produces melatonin, but it actually contributes to the production of melatonin, yeah, because it's connected to melanin pathways, yeah. So melanin contributes to the production of melatonin. You can see the connection with the name. Yeah, it's because they have very similar pathways. Yeah, so melanin is like a precursor to production of melatonin, and melatonin in turn is very important for circadian rhythm. It is well produced in the night when you want to sleep, so it regulates your sleep and wakefulness functions. So very important functions that we need. So all this, you can imagine like being a black person now. It's a huge blessing. I tell you, and we're just like talking about the locations yet. We've not even like diving deep into the functions yet. We're just talking about brief, of course, functions and majorly the locations now, right? Still gonna talk and dive deep into the functions. The blood and the immune cells. Melanin actually it's a precursor to DRPA and you know melanin related enzymes. So these guys are found in the white blood cells. Can you imagine that? And white blood cells is very important in immune function and some very defensive function in the body. So you can see that. So melanin is directly or indirectly connected to the immune function of your body, right? And also detoxifications. Very important. In your intestine, melanin is found in your colon, is found in your mucosal linings of the digestive tracts. Very important function there. So it's actually protect against the microbes, dangerous ones, and then it's have like a defensive barrier against some pathogens that may want to enter your intestinal cells, which will cause some damage. Yeah. So very important. Also, finally, very important in your nails and your nail belts. Yeah, that's also very obvious. When you look at your skin, you look at your skin appendages like the nails, the hair, and the sweat glands. Yeah, melanin is found in all of these nail. I mean, all of these skin appendages, right? So the nails and the nail belts, you have the melanin well found in these locations, and it actually also serves that protective function. So, and the melanin actually also, of course, beautify your skin, beautify your nails, beautify your every part that is found. So we're gonna talk a lot about those functions. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in the next discussion. All right. All right, so let's talk about the functions of melanin in your body. Yeah, before we talked about the locations where melanin is found in your body, we just briefly mentioned some functions, but then now we're going to dive into the functions of melanin in your body. I mean, this will shock you. Like, it is very important for us to understand these things because, yeah, like I mentioned before, that you know, we look at melanin as skin color, which is like where it's mostly present, as being like a curse. Like, oh, people see and they're, oh, black person, like they've got nothing to offer, or like they're just nobody in the world, or what can they do? Like, so we see like uh color, melanin, pigment as being a curse or problem or something that probably most of us, if we were to choose, we would not want to choose. But then it's a blessing in disguise. It's really, really a huge blessing in disguise, and that's why we need to understand its functions and know how I mean melanin in our body serve these very important functions. First of all, you want to understand that melanin is a pigment. It is not a protein, it's not a carbohydrate, it is a pigment which is made from tyrosine. It's an amino acid. Alright? So melanin is essentially a pigment in your body which is produced by the melanocytes in your skin cells, another part of your body. Alright? And the melanin actually serve very, very important functions that we're going to talk about. So let's start. First is the protective function. So we have like category of functions. Number one, protective functions. Number two, regulatory functions. Number three, motor functions. Number four, executive functions. Number five, spiritual functions. Number six, cosmetic functions. And of course, maybe there will be more functions that probably we'll talk about later when I get to yeah, I mean put them together. All right, so let's start with the protective functions. You see, Melanin in your body actually serve very, very, very important protective functions. Like when I did mention about the locations, you see that I did mention a lot about the protective function of melanin in our body. First of all, is on your skin. Like melanin actually protects your skin against ultraviolet radiation, which is coming from the sun. So we know Africans, like we are located, of course, in Africa. Like that's where we originated from, and as a matter of fact, that's where humanity originated from. Okay, so Africans are mostly located in Africa. Even those that are located in other part of the world, they actually, of course, descended from Africa, came from Africa. So the reason why we originally have the black pigmentation, or we have the black color on our skin, is because of this location where we are found in Africa. So when you look at Africa on the map of the world, it is at the center. It is at the equatorial location. So the position of Africa actually made it to be situated where there will be high condensation of sunlight. I mean, that is where sunlight is, you know, majorly condensed, which actually makes it important for us to have something to protect us from this ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun. You see, nature is so, perfect in its doing. Like the creator and the nature has just so perfected the system that's, yeah, there must be that something to protect us when there's a, sign of threat or danger, to make sure that humanity doesn't, get eliminated from the earth. Yeah. So because of the location of Africa, which is located at the equator, just at the center of the earth, which now makes the earth to be more direct to the sun, which now makes us to be well exposed to sunlight. That's why when you go to Africa, most part of the year we have huge sunlight, and that's also again a blessing, because yeah, that's a lot of energy which can be converted to, yeah, solar energy that we use for electricity and all many other things. Yeah, so we have lots of energy condensed in Africa, which is a huge blessing again. You see, when you go to other part of the world, like maybe when you go to the Arctic region, you go to Antarctic region, or wherever part of the world that you go to that are like at the extreme ends, these guys have a lot of challenges, like in the climatic conditions, whether it's too cold or too hot or too this or too that. They have different seasons. But in Africa, we just enjoy summer most part of the year, which is a huge blessing. Like I said. So yeah, so we have a lot of blessings in disguise, but now we need to get aware of them and discover them, and start maximizing them as a people. Very important. So the regulatory functions, they are very important to note. Then on your skin as well, you see the melanin also serve very important function, like it protects against DNA damage, which actually protect against skin cells. I mean, skin cancer. It protects your skin against skin cancer, which is what we call like a melanoma, skin disease, skin cancer. Yeah. So it also does protect against folate damage, which it is very important, okay, for reproduction. So if you wonder why most black women are very fertile, I mean very, very fertile, and like any small, intercourse, it's just straight up to pregnancy, so that is because of folate, which is connected to melanin. So melanin actually protects the folate in their body. All right, and folate is very important for fertility, for reproduction. So when melanin is protecting their skin against the damage to folate, it makes them to be highly fertile, which again proves the fact that African women are very, very fertile, and they are very, very reproductive, which is why we have a lot of, people, a lot of Africans in the world today. Each blessing for us, right? A huge population. Africa today has the highest number of young people in the world, which is again another huge blessing, because young people mean strength, Young people means versatility. Young people means future. Young people means, abilities, very creativity, innovation, very amazing things that you can't even think of, right? It also means potential, huge potential, right? That's what Africa is. So everything you can think about young people, you can think about future, you can think about potential, you can think about abilities, you can think about innovation, you can think about creativity, you can think about strength, right? That is what we have in Africa. So we are, man, without even talking about our resources yet, like without even talking about our mineral resources yet, everything about Africa, it is a huge blessing. It is a huge blessing, and this cannot be overemphasized, my fellow Africans. This cannot be overemphasized. Please, let's understand these things and bring them to, to work. Let's put them to work. Let's practice them, like not just knowing them, but then put them to work. Like, yeah, all these things we're talking about. See, when it first of all come as knowledge or information, then it transforms your mind. You know, it- you know, you get it transformed. That's like from information to transformation, and then to reformation, which is gonna be like what we can see, physically, like the reformation I want to have, the change I want to have on our continent. Yeah, that's right. So yes, so we can turn all this information to transformation and then to reformation, to impartation, what's going to help our continent and all that, right? Very important. So a lot of very protective functions. I've mentioned them earlier. Protective function in the brain. The melanin actually, bind to the heavy metals in your brain, which actually could cause damage, cause potential damage in the brain. So melanin actually binds to these heavy metals, which could cause very dangerous, diseases like Parkinson disease, so many, you know, neurodegenerative disease in the brain, which can be caused by these toxins and these heavy metals. You see, maybe from inhalation, from breakdown of all these chemicals, processes, metabolic processes, and all that. So, melanin in our body actually do protect. So, it's a very important protective function there. Also, of course, in practically every part of our body, melanin serve in protective functions in the eyes, in your mouth, in your reproductive organs, in your immune cells, in the white blood cells, in those locations where I mentioned before. Melanin serve very, very important protective functions in your skin appendages, in your hairs, in your nails. Very, very important protective functions, right? So yeah, of course, when we also look at the antioxidant properties as well, it's also a very important protective functions. Yeah, that's like to protect against the oxidative stress, right? Which can actually be very dangerous. Oxidative stress can actually cause premature aging and inflammation in the body. All right, but the melanin in your body protect against oxidative stress, which is the protection of a lot of dangerous, what we call it, oxidative oxygen species. Oxidative oxygen species. So, superactive oxygen species. Yeah, I think they call them XOS or something. Superactive oxygen species. So these guys are very, very dangerous in the body. They can cause a lot of damages in the body. But yeah, but your melanin actually protect against these damaging reactive oxygen species, which can cause problem in the body, right? Okay, so that is the melanin. Very, very important protective functions, right? So, and like I mentioned before, yeah, the brain very important, protects against those very serious neurodegenerative diseases, and also in the eyes, very protective. It prevents against cataracts, against macular degeneration, against eye damage. Yeah, and also like it also helps in the focus, like for you to see very well. So because it protects against too much light entering into your eyes, so it also makes you see very well in darkness and also in light. So very important function. So clarity, vision, melanin is very important in that. Yeah, in the immune cells, yeah, the macrophages, the white blood cells, the red blood cells, especially white blood cells. Melanin is very important. It also serves those very important protective functions. Also in the other parts of the body, like I mentioned before, it's also very important. In the intestine, yeah, it's very important. Detoxification, absorption of heavy metals, so it binds to the heavy metals so that it don't cause damage to your body and your body cells. Also very important when it comes to the regulatory function now. So let's talk about the regulatory function. The regulatory function is to um regulate the heat in your body. So regulate the heat production in your body, because yeah, then you know, against the sunlight, because it absorbs the ultraviolet rays and then it doesn't allow too much heat coming into your body. So that means absorb a lot of heat. So then in that case, it regulates heat in your body. And not just even only on your skin, also but inside your body. So melanin also does regulate heat, so regulate thermal energy, regulate also in that case water content, regulate water, because yeah, water is connected to heat. So whether you're gonna feel cold, or you're gonna feel hot, or you're gonna feel good, or you're gonna feel bad, you're gonna feel dry, you're gonna feel wet, melanin actually contributes to all of these functions, and it's very important in those things. Yeah. So very important. Also part of the protective function is the protection of the genetic materials. Yeah, very important function. Yeah. So we did mention that before. The regulatory function, back to regulatory functions now, is the hormonal and also the endocrine functions. So melanin actually does regulate your body hormones, like I mentioned when I was talking about the locations. Yeah, in the pineal gland, because melanin is like a precursor to melatonin, which is produced in the pineal gland. So yes, so melanin actually is very important in the regulation of your body hormones and also the neurotransmitter as well. Melanin controls and helps with the production of dopamine, which we're going to talk about the functions shortly. Dopamine is very important. So yeah, we're going to talk about that shortly. Dopamine, future and reproductive health. Yeah, melanin is very important in your future and reproductive health. I think we mentioned that before, when it serves also that very protective function, but in this case also reproductive functions, like I mentioned before. Uh, in the ovaries and the testes. So yeah, it's helps with the production of the reproductive cells, which are very important in reproduction, of course, and also the regulation of the hormones as well, very important. And the protection also in the when it comes to the antimicrobial, antimicrobial and antiviral properties. Yes, so melanin also serve that function as well, protect against the microbes and the viruses that may want to enter your body, maybe through your skin or through any part of your body. Melanin actually protect against those pathogens. Very important. So now when we look at the dopamine, because I want to talk about dopamine, we still talk about other functions as well. Yeah. So, but let's quickly talk about dopamine and see the function of dopamine. Now, melanin in your brain, we call it neuromelanin, okay, which is found in two major locations: the substantia nigra and the locus coeruleus. You see, these two locations are very important in very important functions. They are very important in some key functions. Now, the substantia nigra and locus coeruleus, they produce dopamine and norepinephrine and other important catecholamines. So norepinephrine, epinephrine, dopamine, those are catecholamines. So now to the functions of dopamine, very important. Number one is motivation and reward. You see, dopamine is known to be a feel-good chemical or neurotransmitter in the brain. Very important. So dopamine drives goal-oriented behavior. Like if you have any behavior that is goal-oriented and it is going to have some rewards, you can be very sure dopamine is at the center of it. it is central to the brain reward system. So it makes you feel good, it makes you feel the pleasure while achieving the goals. For example, you're eating good food, you're winning some games, you're earning some money, or you're like, having some sex or whatever, like you're having some good time. Dopamine is at the center of this. So any, rewarding behavior that you want to engage or you're engaging in, you can be sure dopamine is at the center of it. And it's not only that, it actually reinforces those habits and behaviors. It encourages repetition of those pleasurable activities by linking them with the reward. So, you see, what you see with dopamine is now there's in the brain, there's what we call the reward circuit, there's a reward system, there's a reward pathway, in which case dopamine is a major neurotransmitter that's released between the neurons. So when you engage in, say, any behavior or any activity that eventually leads to reward, it's rewarding. So what dopamine does is it reinforces that behavior, it reinforces that pathway. It makes you like, okay, go do that thing again. For example, maybe you just heard one particular food for the first time and then you felt so good after eating that food. You felt some serotonin, some endorphins, some norepinephrine release in your brain, because those are like very feel good hormones as well. you know, Serotonin, oxytocin, and enkephalins, endorphins. Those guys, they are released when you're feeling good. So, and together with dopamine as well, it's also like released when you feel good. So, when you feel good, because the neural pathway now is connected to dopamine, so dopamine now triggers you, okay, go do that thing again, since it make you feel good, go and do it again, you see. So dopamine is the one that always make you to want something more, to do something more that is rewarding, you see, that's rewarding. So it plays very important role in reinforcing behavior and habits that are rewarding. Very important. I will talk about that shortly. I'll come back to that. Which now leads to something very, very important, which is addiction. You see, now dopamine is very, very much involved in addiction. So, for example, many addictive substances like cocaine, like all these drugs, nicotine, fentanyl or fentanyl or heroin, all this Indian hemp, all those things that are addictive substance, dopamine is actually involved. They artificially raise the level of dopamine in your brain, which just hijack the system and then makes you feel so addicted to taking those substances. You see, now let me now get to where this is affecting us as Africans. Very, very important. Maybe I should find time to talk about this, but let me just quickly mention it now. That you see what these guys have seen about us as Africans or black people in the world. They understood this system very well because to a large part, yeah, they've done research into all these things. I mean, a lot of all these West and these, white guys, those are involved in research and all that. Many of them that are into all this research that are colonizing Africans, they are very devilish in how they manipulate us with all these things. And I'll explain to you. Now, because Africans have neuromelanin in their brains, in which case neuromelanin, like I mentioned before, is found in those two locations, substantia nigra and leukocerolos, which actually produce a lot of dopamine. You see, in the substantia nigra and the leukocerolos focus more on norepinephrine. So substantia nigra produces a lot of dopamine. So now, the bottom line is we have a lot of dopamine in our brain. Now, because of this, so when they give you drugs, for example, they give you drugs. Now, these drugs actually make you get so addicted to taking those drugs, which now make it so hard for many of our African or black people all over the world to get away from taking these drugs the moment they are entangled, the moment they are trapped. It's hard for them to get away from taking these drugs. So it is very easy for any African or black person in the world to get addicted to drugs or to anything for that matter, like whether to sex or to food. That's what you see also with our women, like when they get addicted to food and even to sex and all those things. Like it's easier for black women to get addicted to sex and food and drugs than the other races. And it's because of this, because of our brain chemistry. We've got to understand the uniqueness of our brain chemistry and see that these guys can use it as a manipulative strategy to keep controlling us. Because the moment we are addicted, the moment we are trapped in these things, that is it. It automatically hijacks our brain system, which makes us so subservient, makes us like so, you know, so addicted to these things that we cannot even live without them. See what is happening with many of our musicians, many of our artists, many of our influencers, so-called influencers, that they are so addicted to taking all these things that they cannot even stop taking them. Now, it doesn't mean that other races don't have all these things in their brain. Like, it doesn't mean they don't get addicted. But I mean, with the uniqueness of our own brain chemistry, it even makes us more addicted to these things. It makes us to be more addicted to these substances, which explains the reason why they've been for many years using those things to colonize us. So they just intentionally throw those drugs into blacks' neighborhood, go to the US. They intentionally push those drugs into black neighborhoods. When it's hard for other races to get it, when you go to black neighborhood, it's easily found. All these fentanyl, all these heroines, cocaines, Indian hemp, you know, they are easily found in black neighborhoods. But go to white neighborhood, no, you won't find them there because they are intentional with their target of trapping us and enslaving our minds, enslaving our brains, and just get us addicted to taking all these things. And you know what happened with them is when we keep taking those things, then they just shut down our prefrontal cortex. That is our judgmental part of the brain. So we cannot reason anymore. We cannot think as human beings anymore. We cannot, have good judgment anymore. We just become like animals. So we become addicted, we become impulsive, we become aggressive. We amplify animalistic behavior in us. You see, that's what you see with many of our people. Oh my God, like when we understand the uniqueness of our brain chemistry, we understand what these guys have done to us. The other time I read the news, like it happened recently, like just like a few weeks ago, that the United Kingdom, UK, pumped over 10 millions of addictive substance, of addictive drugs to Nigeria. Can you imagine that? They pumped in drugs, addictive drugs to the country. Wonder what they want to use it for. You see, because we know they are major colonizing demons, these guys. So they have devised different strategies to keep pumping drugs into our countries. And that's what you see in other African countries. Go to Sierra Leone, go to Senegal, go to Gambia, go to Kenya, go to Mozambique, go to South Africa, go to all these African countries. You see drugs found everywhere. The guys, they are doing drug business. That's what they're doing. And then when they trap them with these drugs, then they cannot think anymore. They cannot behave like human beings anymore. You wonder why we have so many crimes in our society today. You wonder why we have so many criminals. Why we have so many kidnapping, armed robbery, all manner of social vices in our society today. I tell you guys, these guys are intentional with their mission of destroying us as a people. Because they know all these things, how we not believe that they don't know? They are intentional with their actions on Africa. They are very intentional. And that's why we must wake up as a people. You see, I just pray that our people, especially those that have got addicted to these things, they become aware of these things and then get themselves out, and we even help them and support them. Because it's very hard. When you get addicted to these things, it's very hard to come out of them. Very, very hard to come out of them. But I believe we will come out. With our effort, with our prayers, with our support, I believe that we will come out of the thraldom of these demons. That they have trapped us down for many years. They've ensnared us for many years. You see, that's what Africans are doing. Drugs. We're carrying drugs. When you say blacks, it's drugs. Black is equal to drugs. Like, what is this? Because they understood these things. And they're the one that will be throwing them into our community. They'll be throwing them into our neighborhood. We go to any black neighborhood in any of all these Western countries. Go to France. Go to the UK. Go to all these Western countries. It is when you go to black neighborhood, you're seeing drugs. Go to Netherlands. It's what they're doing there. Blacks is drugs. That's what they're doing because they want to destroy our brains. They want to destroy our reasoning ability. They want to destroy our judgments. They want to destroy our executive functions. What you call like what makes us humans. They want to destroy it and just turn us to animals. So we become so like controllable. We become aggressive. We become impulsive. We become stupid in our thinking, in our behavior, in our attitudes. Like what is this? Like just mere animals. People who cannot think like humans. You see what these guys are doing to us. That is why it's very important for us to understand these things and then create a massive awareness among ourselves that we must not let these guys keep trapping us. When they keep pushing drugs to our neighborhood, we must raise that alarm and throw out those things. And we see any of us that are getting addicted to these things, we must help and support them. You must not leave them alone in this because even many want to get out of it, but it's hard for them to get out of it. It's very hard. People go through a lot of things. It's very hard. People go through depression. Many of our people are depressed. The guys, boys, girls, they are depressed day and night. They cannot live anymore without these things, without this substance. They cannot live anymore. They cannot survive without taking drugs. They cannot survive without taking all this, whether it's cigarettes or nicotine or whatever. They cannot survive without taking all these things. They cannot survive without taking these things. See, it's a problem for us. But I believe that we're gonna come out of it. I believe we're gonna come out of it. The chains that these guys have pounded us in, we're gonna come out of it. We're gonna be let loose. These demonic forces that have trapped us down as Africans, we're gonna come out of it. I believe this strongly in my heart. We're gonna come out of it. My dear Africans, I have not lost hope on my continent, I've not lost hope on my people. I believe that we're gonna come out stronger and better. That these powers of these demons are going to be crushed and destroyed. They're going to be powerless and they're going to be put to eternal shame. These demons that have colonized us for many years, and they've now devised different strategies to keep colonizing us. Now they are not coming in physical, they're not coming to colonize us physically. Now they are coming to colonize us in different ways. To make sure that they just keep trapping us, both mentally, both physically, both economically, in every manner, every ramification. These guys are there doing all manner of evil to us. I say their time is up. These demons, their time is up. And they will surely regret and come to judgment. I put them under God's judgment. These demons, I put them under God's judgment. They will never, ever, ever be free in their lives. And I put them under curse. These demons, evil people pushing drugs to black neighborhoods. Go anywhere in the world. Anywhere you see blacks, you're seeing drugs. Anywhere in all these Western countries, I tell you. So it is because of these things. Because we have dopamine. So our brain chemistry, they understand our brain chemistry. They understand the dopamine that we have in our brains. All these very, very important chemicals that are supposed to help us to even optimize our mental performance, right? To help us to develop ourselves. Now they have now turned into something bad. You see, they have now twisted it and now turned into to nightmare for us. It does not become a problem for us. You see, but I say their time is up. Their time is up. So anyway, so talking about the function of dopamine, and it's very important we understand this thing like I mentioned, because from motivation and reward, dopamine, it is number one. I tell you that. Number two is the mood regulation. It improves your mood. Healthy dopamine level actually contributes to a sense of well-being and emotional balance. You see, it's also linked to your mental health, which actually, is connected to people who have depression, mean that they have low dopamine. People who have depression, people who have low energy, people who have apathy, it is because of low dopamine. And again, that's what you see also with taking drugs. You see, so naturally we're supposed to be, even without taking drugs, we're supposed to be naturally happy people. We're supposed to be naturally and that's what you see with our forefathers. That's what you see. We are naturally happy people. We are naturally joyful people. We are naturally cheerful people. We embrace people. We are hospitable people. We are not depressed people. But what you see with our people today now, what you see with Africans now, because now they've got themselves into drugs now. So they've artificially raised their dopamine levels. So now, anytime they don't take these drugs now, they become depressed. You see, anytime they don't take drugs now, they become apathetic or they have low energy. We see why we have many young people now, they're having low energy. You see, they are becoming tired and weak because of this, these drugs. You see? So yeah, but natural dopamine actually does regulate the mood and make you feel good, makes you feel healthy, makes you feel happy, makes you feel, have that sense of well-being and emotional balance, right? Very important. Look at another very important function of dopamine. It enhances your memory and learning. Can you imagine that? Dopamine actually signal that your brain actually needs to prioritize some very important functions, and then so it does help in learning and memory. Also, that is connected to reward and punishment. So for example, when you're learning something, okay, I'm gonna get something beautiful at the end, I'm gonna get some rewards. It actually enhances learning and memory. Very important. Again, another important function of dopamine is attention and focus. Yes, dopamine is very important in your attention and focus, so it makes you concentrate and gives you that mental clarity. Very important. So, what you see now again is when there's no problem with dopamine, you see, imbalances now will lead to what they call ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. All right. Now, that's what you see with people who, again, are also addicted to drugs. Now, because when you take these drugs, because you not be taking drugs, of course, every minute of the day. You see, there'll be a high time, there'll be a low time, because now it becomes like a sinusoidal effect. So yeah, so there'll be a high time, there'll be a low time. So because they're now addicted to taking drugs now, okay, so which now creates an imbalance in the dopamine levels in the brain. So what happens then is there's now gonna be ADHD. There's not gonna be attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And that's what you see with also people who are drug addicts. They become, you know, hyperactive. Like just attention deficit, can't just even concentrate. You wonder why we have many young people today who can't even have, 5 seconds attention everywhere. Their attention is like all over the place, like boo, 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 they are not settled in their minds, they are not settled in their brains, they are not settled in their thoughts, they are just all over the place. You see, they're just all over the place. That's the problem. Because when there's a problem with dopamine, then attention becomes deranged and focus also becomes deranged. So there's no mental clarity, there's no concentration, there's no attention. It's all just chaotic and whimsical. So those people, they also become impulsive, they become rash. When you see all this impulsive behavior, all this like rash, just like misbehaving, like what's this? And again, all these things actually affect relationships, they affect families, they affect things that people do, economy, social life, and all that. It's like, what is going on? Bro, a lot of people don't understand that all these things are connected to dopamine, and also even the kind of people, I mean, race they are like. Now I'm talking about black people in the world. That when you see many things happening with us, like for example, increased divorce among black people, especially in all these Western countries, right? You see black people divorcing every now and then. You see, you can connect all these things to our brain chemistry, which is directly linked to our melanin, like I explained before. You see, because melanin being in the brain means that there will be high dopamine in our brain. So that makes it unique. Our brain unique, have unique chemistry, unique neurotransmitters, unique chemicals, which actually make us to have different system, the way we do things, the way we respond to things, the way we act and all that. Very important things for us to understand, my dear Africans. Please share this with as many Africans that you know on this planet Earth. Let everybody get this because this is very important for us, right? So yes, dopamine is important in attention and focus. And if we are taking the natural dopamine, like you are not addicted to drugs or whatever, you can be sure that yes, it gives you that attention and focus. Because then it has a It has a regulated level, not like the one that is artificially increased or decreased by drugs and all those things, right? So when you have a normal level of dopamine, it gives you attention and focus. Very important. Motor functions. Yes, dopamine is also very important in your motor functions. It helps you in your motor control. It's very essential for smooth and coordinated movement. All right? And we see problem when people have Parkinson's disease, which again is due to lack of dopamine in substantia nigra. Again, we see that also in some people that are not Africans, okay, because they don't have a lot of dopamine in their substantia nigra, so they are more susceptible to Parkinson's disease, which is kind of disease that's affected, that affects, dopamine level in the substantia nigra, which makes them to have a problem with their motor functions, lack of coordinated movement, and some kind of like a tremor, some kind of rigidity, and all those things, uh problem that you have. So, but for Africans, for black people, we hardly have those problems, even at old age, because again of our brain chemistry, dopamine in our substantia nigra, thanks to our melanin, my fellow Africans, is doing a great job for us. Now we're coming to something interesting again. Dopamine, pleasure and sexual functions. Dopamine is very, very, very important in your pleasure and sexual functions. And I explained that. You see, dopamine, you remember I mentioned before that it's very connected to rewards, right? Reward and pleasure. Yeah, because it's in that neuronal circuitry where you call like a neural where we call like a reward pathway in the brain. Dopamine is a major neurotransmitter in the nucleus accumbens, in the brainstem, all those locations, in the basal location of the brain, the limbic system. Dopamine is well located in those locations, and it is serving those very important functions. Now, pleasure and sexual functions. Yeah, anything that will give you sexual pleasure, dopamine is at the center of it. So, for example, getting so much sexual libido, sexual arousal, and giving you some orgasm and satisfaction during sex, that is dopamine. So, again, why you see many Africans being sexually active, like black people all over the world, they say when you go black, you don't go back. From the testimony of people that are not even Africans, that is to tell you the potency and the strength and power of African people when it comes to sexual abilities. Because again, of our dopamine, which is connected to our melanin. Every time you think about our dopamine, think about our melanin. Very important. So now, the sexual function, because then, you know, not even just men, but men and women, because yeah, of course, we both Africans, we both blacks, and then we have this high dopamine level in our brains, which automatically make us to have sexual libido and desire for sex. And of course, when we get aroused sexually, we have that so much intense feeling of pleasure. Very important that other races do not have. You see, so in a way, it is our strength. In a way, it is a blessing to us because, yeah, that has, led to increase in our population in the world. Africans are the list in the people that have high fertility rate in the world are women. They top the list. So because of this high sexual libido, our women are, they are happy to have sex, which actually increase their tendency for conception and reproduction, and all that. So that is a very good thing, my dear Africans. Very, very important thing. Very, very important thing. So dopamine is very important for us pleasure and sexual function. Then our executive functions. Yes, dopamine supports high level of thinking and decision making. Can you imagine that? Planning, problem solving, impulse control, and emotional regulation is all done by the dopamine. Can you imagine that? Like controlling how you plan, how you solve problems, how you control your impulse, how you regulate your emotions. Those are major high level thinking, which is what we call the executive functions. So, again, when you have a good level of dopamine in your brain, not being controlled by drugs now, you have a good decision making. You have a higher level thinking, which helps you with your planning, with your problem solving, with your impulse control. Again, which gives the reason why we have very, very intelligent black people in the world. Very, very intelligent. Like, I mean, extremely intelligent black people in the world. Forget about what is the trash these demons have been telling many of us for many years. I tell you that Africans, black people, if not topping the list, they are some of the most intelligent and brilliant people in the world. In the world, I tell you this, in the world. And this is not like because I'm a black person. If I'm not, I will still tell the truth. I will still tell the truth. Black people are very, very intelligent, very smart, very intelligent, very, very brilliant. Look at our girls in schools. Look at our boys in schools. Look at our boys in athletes doing sports. You see, very, 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 very intelligent, very, very smart. When it comes to being calculative, when it comes to being strategic, when it comes to planning, when it comes to things that we're good at, forget about it. Africans are the best in the world because of our dopamine. Thanks to our dopamine and thanks to our melanin, my fellow Africans. Very, very powerful things that we need to understand as a people. All right. Then hormone regulation. Dopamine is very important. Hormone regulation. It regulates prolactin release and some very important hormones that are produced by hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a very regulatory organ in the brain which controls a lot of hormones produced by the reproductive organs and many parts of the body. Yes, also controls the hormones released by the pituitary gland. Right. So dopamine controls and regulates hormonal production. Very, very important. Sleep and wakefulness. Yeah, dopamine again also it actually helps to regulate your sleep cycles. It's actually very important for your wakefulness and alertness. All right. Again, which explains the reason why black people are very good in doing night jobs and they will still be active and not so stressful like their white counterparts, right? Because again of our dopamine, because yeah, it keeps us very active at night. It controls our wakefulness and alertness even when we are at night, right? And it's actually works to make us also like control our stress and all those things. Very, very important functions. Control stress. And finally is the pain processing function. Dopamine is very important in modulating your pain, especially chronic pain perception. You see, so what you say with dopamine, of course, it's a feel good hormone. So yeah, so you see, when you're feeling good, you don't feel much pain. Yeah, that makes sense. But even at that, more is the fact that it actually processes pain. Now, what that means is like there's a pain pathway in the brain. Okay, so dopamine actually controls how much pain you feel. You see, very important. It controls how much pain you feel, how much pain you perceive. So when dopamine level is high in your brain, so that means your pain tolerance increases. Okay, your ability to tolerate pain actually increases. So, and it's a good thing for us. Again, more reason why you see our women when it comes to when they go into labor, they feel less pain compared to their other maybe white or other racist counterparts, right? They feel less pain. Not like you don't feel pain, of course, they feel pain. Everybody feels pain, yeah. But compared to their counterpart, they feel less pain. All right, very important. And also, when it comes to other things too, they also feel less pain. You see, whether physically assaulted or something, Africans have been known, black people all over the world have been known to have high pain tolerance. We can endure pains, we can, persevere and all those things thanks to our dopamine, thanks to our melanin. So those are the very vital functions of dopamine that I've got to mention to you. Please like and share this. Share it with your family and friends. Let's spread the word. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.